year 2, year 3, year 4, or like the last 3 years of my business, let me say, in revenue generated like $1 million each year. Like the third year before the last was like 700 something, 900 something, and then I haven't finished the numbers for last year yet, but like also I could feel that it was very profitable. And it was incredible. Like it was so stressful. It was really, 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 really stressful.
So let me
I will
ask.
never do that again. People make it seem
Right.
like pregnancy and the birth is the hardest part. And that was not the hardest part to me. Literally everything that came after was such a roller coaster of things. And then with my relationship changing, the emotions that I was on an island by myself. And I was just, my cousin's wife just recently gave birth. And I said to her, I said, it felt like my daughter was sent here at the time to kill me.
I've been waiting for this moment for such a long time, y'all. You know, for those who've been following the channel for some time, you know, if you paid attention, I speak about what mattered to me the most was able to have conversations with people that I genuinely admire, have love for, you know, have watched grow, have helped me iron, like sharpen my tools in the shed. Like, this is the epitome of the friend that I can call regardless of the circumstances, right? She is someone that I admire, not because of the accolades of the stuff she's done. It's who she becomes when things are tough. Always someone to look to. I don't think she remembers everything she's done. So today, I'm gonna try to do my best to remind her of what she's done, so you guys can see that if you put your mind to something, if you have the will, it will and can be done. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Yenia Vasquez in the building.
Yay.
Clap it up for Yenia Vasquez. Now look, my lovely friend, I could sit here and let me just tell you this, because some of you are probably new coming to this channel and you're saying, what is this about? Entrepreneur, therapist, mother, sensational human being, and more. You know what I mean? A genuine great friend. Like, I can't express that enough, but that's me explaining the world who Yenia is. I would ask my lovely friend, Jen, who are you?
That's such a loaded question. Who am I? You know what? Let's start with I'm a child of God. I think that's important to start there. I am Dominican, right? Because cultural identity to me is important. I am the daughter of 2 immigrants. And then, yeah, I am those things. I'm a mom. I am a sister, a daughter. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a problem solver, and I am a human being trying to be the best human being I can possibly be. And I'm committed to like fulfilling my purpose while I'm here, and dedicated to figuring out what that is over and over and over again and living this life while we're here. That's who I am, Rob. And thanks for having me again.
Come on now. Y'all missed the first part. We can't, you know what I mean? But look, that was a lot there. And I appreciate you taking your time on that question, because off the bat, I want to say my first memory of Jen is she was 20, you probably 22 at the time, but you were 21 years old with your master's over $100,000 in debt. What possesses you to, one, go for that degree, get into that much debt, and attack it in such a fast pace? Right? Like, what do we need to understand about Jenia's personality or characteristics that makes her go to this extent?
So when we met, I must have been 23. But I had finished grad school at 22. Sure. And I was able to finish grad school in a year. And the characteristics about me that make me able to accomplish things like that is I'm definitely relentless when it comes to the things that I want and like pursuing them. Like when I want something, I go for it. and I cannot be told no. And like, no is not an answer. It's like, how are we going to figure this out? How is this going to happen? But I don't want to hear no. And I have always had just things stacked against me. And I have been relentless about proving people wrong about me since I was very, 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 very little. Very little. I have a lot of personal stories about that journey. But I'm very like relentless about proving people wrong and achieving the things that people say that I can't do. And that's how I was able to accomplish that. But that's kind of how I put my mind to a lot of the things that I need to do.
Only reason I asked that question, because I'm going to leap into, you just sold the business recently, right? All right, but you get into the trucking business. The start of that journey to then, oh God, to then, it's a male-dominant industry for sure, all right? I want to talk about your process, right, in that. And then my second follow-up question is, what's more challenging, being an entrepreneur or a therapist?
Wow, that's a good question. I think they're both challenging. I've been a therapist longer, and it's very innate for me. The problem solving and the entrepreneurship is something that I started doing, and the problems, especially because I got into a male dominated industry and an industry that I know nothing about. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know anything about trucks. I didn't even know the difference between a semi and a box truck when I got into this industry. I didn't even know the difference.
Right.
I mean, only like maybe 2 years ago, I could tell you how many wheels were on a truck, to be honest. But that goes to show you that there are some things you don't need to know at the end of the day to be successful at something. And they're both challenging. But again, I feel like entrepreneurship was harder recently because that industry was so new to me. But it was so challenging and so rewarding because the way I figured things out, it gives you just such a sense of confidence. Do you remember skydiving?
I do remember skydiving.
That feeling is how I felt every time I solved a problem that I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. And then it felt even better when I was helping other people around me solve like really big problems. So I would say that was harder. And watching my parents be entrepreneurs, only in the last couple of years, I've realized how much that impacted me and how much I learned and that affected me.
In what way? What about your father's process of being an entrepreneur affected Jen?
So not just my dad and my mom, actually. My dad's process affected a lot of things. My dad had a fourth grade education level, if that, and migrated here, opened up like a bodega, then a supermarket, then he opens up a restaurant, and the restaurant is what really took off for him. And then he was able to use that. He opened up a supermarket. Then they opened up, then they bought stuff in DR. And I got to watch all of that unfold. But then I also saw, he got involved in politics and unfortunately endorsed the wrong person. And I saw that person go full force against my dad. My dad and then my family and us, and it was so, so, so bad. And he lost everything, lost everything he built. One by one, year after year after year after year, it just slowly chipped away at everything he had built. And towards the end, he left, and at the time I couldn't understand why and what happened. And then, as I got older and, went to school and started to understand my own family dynamics, I'm like, oh, I would have ran too if I was going through all of this. Like, how do you face, just humiliation, shame, just all these different things? And unfortunately, I saw him lose all that. And then from the stress and the pressure and, lifestyle, he had diabetes and then he had a stroke. So, that's a long story. And so, unfortunately, eventually, he was in a nursing home for many years and died of COVID in 2020. And watching that journey is great. Like, that is the first entrepreneur that I will ever know, admire, respect, even though I have a lot of complicated feelings around my dad. And then, but my mom had to pick up the pieces. So watching my mom, like, be resourceful, figure it out, like, pray. Oh my goodness, did I watch that woman pray? Pray like, because our lives depended on it. And she was relentless about praying. And I only maybe saw my mom cry like very few times. But she wouldn't really get upset. Like, she kept calm, cool, collected, and she would pray her way through. And God always, always, always delivered. Always delivered. And so watching her then pick up the pieces and connect one thing and another, to like build her life back up. And she never lost her joy. Like, watching one parent be so sad and miserable, and rightfully so, because of everything that was happening. And then watching her, like, still pray, still find joy, still, like, be optimistic.
Crazy.
I think about that story and I can't believe it. So I got to watch her pick up the pieces. And then my uncle, watching him in DR and the things that he's done, are the three most inspirational, like, entrepreneurial journeys I've seen. And then ever since we did network marketing, I'm big on, like, books and reading. So I've read hundreds of books now, and I'm so into people's stories. The therapist plus their journey, you put that together, and I'm like a kid in a candy store. But those are the three that I, like, lead with, return to myself about. Like, I stand on their shoulders. And, like, that I have that blood in me is, like, I have a sense of pride and honor. So that's a little bit of that entrepreneurial journey and who I've seen make it happen.
This makes a lot of sense. Jen, this makes a lot of sense. And here's why I'm saying this, because I know stories that you guys don't know, but here's my job as Rob Little Prophet, right? To get in his bag. So do you think this is why the combination of your mother and your father, is this why you give so many chances to people? Is this why, Jen?
You really prepped today, didn't you? It's funny. You're doing this. It's payback. Like, for all the times throughout the years that I have asked these, like, provoking, thoughtful, provocative questions
today,
in Rob's life. I should have known. I should have known. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
So, no, that was fine, because there's times when I look, right? So at the time when I met Jen, I was the mentor. She's the mentee. But I respected who she was from the day I met her, and just saw the capabilities. Like, there's not a lot of people that you meet, and from the second you meet them, you're like, this person has something, right? Like, you can just see it. But there was things that she would do where I'm like, no. like you got to cut that out now. You can't save everybody. Not everybody wants to be saved. So you're giving yourself this task of helping the person that doesn't want the help to avoid helping the person that needs the help. But it was in her conviction to say, no, I can fix it. I want to give him another shot. So is it the combination of seeing your mom not lose her joy, and there's different levels to what you want to do with your father, that you use that to give people more opportunities than they need?
Let me start with, I'm not the same person anymore.
Okay.
Motherhood changed that.
We don't get that.
Motherhood changed that. and watching my mom constantly forgive my dad, no matter what that man did. Yes, that there's some of it there. The other part is I am innately a good person. I see the best in people. I want people to win. Another part of it is I don't like to lose. So if I'm on your team and I'm helping you, I'm not quitting. We're not giving up.
no, this is
That's the
real.
relentless side of me.
Facts.
We're not quitting. I'm not giving up. Like I'm going to help you win por la buena, por la mala, you know? And obviously that's not healthy and that wasn't good. But watching them never quit, you know, in entrepreneurship, you can't accept no. No is almost like a tickle. It's like, okay, all right, let's see what happens now. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's cute. Thanks for saying that, you know? And so that's kind of how I feel about the word no. And I don't want to give up on people. I mean, my line of work has professionally in the nonprofit space has been about not giving up on people who people have historically turned their back on. And I don't know, it just, I really resonate, you know, not that I want to make this all about Jesus, but like he didn't give up on people. And we don't have enough people like that in the world. You know, like if we give up on this person, who is going to help them? And sometimes you just need one more person. And I think sometimes being described as like the difficult child or the black sheep, you know, like my teachers never gave up on me. Never. Like grammar school was, can we curse? No, we're on YouTube.
We're going to talk about Jesus and then curse in the same sentence. That's wine in a mason jar. That's wine.
Hashtag wine in a mason jar. Middle school was like a shit show for that. And then high school is really where I started to like meet mentors and like people started to see this side of me that you're describing and would not give up on me. And so I can't give up on people. But motherhood has given me more discernment, a lot more discernment. And I'll tell you what the vision or wisdom that it's given me is, it's not that I'm quitting on you, but you're not ready for me. I'm not quitting on you. You can come back later and like, you know, I can help you to the point where it's not going to hurt me or my child. And so like, that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, I want to help you. I give the best of me in everything that I do. But if it's going to come between you or my kid or my ability to be the best parent, no. When you're ready, it's not going to be that hard. When you're ready, it's not going to be that hard for me to help you. I love that. And I used to work harder than people worked on themselves.
This is it was annoying.
I know.
I love you. I used to be like, yo, my man. Stop. You know what I mean? Like, I have to pull you to the side like, yo, it's over. It's over. And honestly, what I admired was that you kept true to you, though, right? Yeah. So subconsciously, I knew, not that I ever thought there'll be something that happens between me and Jen, but I know this is a friend that I'm never going to lose. Yeah. Regardless of what. You know what I mean? Yeah. So much came to my mind when you said that. Because two things here. Can you give me context, one, for the listeners? What do you do for work? Because I'm going to give y'all a story. Nah, son, this is unreal, bro. I'm going to tell you something right now. Can you give context for the nonprofit side? Like, what is it that you do today for work?
So currently I am the vice president of a nonprofit and in programming specifically. So I'm the VP of programming, and we work with 16 to 24-year-olds impacted by the criminal legal system. And we have a bunch of programming designed to be able to keep them out of the criminal legal system. So kids that have historically been in foster care, in and out of like secure placement detention centers. Yeah, you name it. That's what I'm doing right now.
So, so one day Jen says, Rob, let's have dinner. Let's have lunch. Come with me to have lunch. And this is when you was working...
where I worked before.
Where you worked before?
I ran inpatient residential treatment facilities. And so I've done adolescents and I've done adult males. And the one you're describing is this building was like 6 floors, 130 men. and all specifically dealing with substance use, and could be there anywhere from like 30 days to 3 years, while they worked out and worked on their addiction. And so
I just want to tell you.
we have lots of stories from there.
Me. What I want to, you are proof that your light never has to be taken from you, regardless of what you do. You'll never hear me out, bro. She said, oh, let's have lunch. And Jen walks into her workplace, because she works there. Respectfully, no judgment, when you see a stone cold killer, bro. And he's in the hallway looking at me like, who that? And I'm like, yo, what's going on here? Jen and her little lally leaves me alone, and I'm in the hallway like, yo, fam, I know nobody here.
And somebody's about to eat me.
And I don't feel safe, you understand me? Like, I don't feel safe. And then when I walk into her office, I'm like, this is what you do for work? This is what you around every day?
Yeah.
No, God bless you. That, and to say, for context, the trucking business. Because now the business, the trucking business, you sold the business, right? We're going to get into motherhood, and remember what you told me, because it was either being an entrepreneur doing that or being a mother.
Yeah.
Right? Can you give me context of what the business did year one? How many years you had that trucking business?
4, 5, almost 5.
Give me the process of what it was year 1 to year 5. What was that like for you?
So year 1, I get into this with my friends, and we're really just figuring it out. My brother is the one that had mentioned the idea to us, not even to me, to two of my friends. And I get into it also. And year 1 was kind of putting systems in place, opening up the business, forming relationships, figuring out exactly what we wanted to do, buying our first truck. We had a day cab, and kind of like hiring somebody and kind of doing all those things. And then, of course, from my work, I feel like hiring, putting systems in place, right? Like this is stuff that I'm used to. And that's the kind of stuff, though, that I can translate to any business. It's what I've done in real estate. Like I've had to go into programs that I know nothing about. And I got to read the policies and procedures. I have to read the regs. I have to read what the state says we have to do about this. I have to read the budget and figure out how this, program gets paid. And I've been doing that since I was 21. 21,
Not to cut you off, just to give context of who you were. Shout out to Junior. Can we talk about how you learned the law because your brother?
My brother and my dad, both of them. Yeah.
Couldn't afford a lawyer. Mm-mm. Brother was in and out of jail. So you learned the law to represent your brother.
So, no, that was about my parents.
Sorry.
That was about my parents. My brother, I can't be a criminal defense attorney.
For sure.
So I couldn't do that. But my parents, facing all the stuff that they were going through with the restaurant. So the mayor and my dad had already been at war for years. He had blocked the transfer of our liquor license from one location to another. He had parked a huge police truck right outside of the restaurant every single day. So like, who's going to want to come drink and break laws when there's a cop outside? And so we were at the state level. My parents had been paying for an attorney all this time. We're appealing. We're losing, we're appealing. And so they didn't have any more money. And I don't know, like, I think all immigrant children go through this to an extent, right? I was joking about this on Instagram this weekend, but like, I still read my mom's documents and like, translate them and do all that.
Right.
And that's what I was doing at the time. My parents were like, you're in school, like, read this.
Right. Figure this out.
So I'm like, okay, sure. Like, I'll read this. And I was going with them to the state office to fight for their liquor license. And I remember the division director of the liquor aspect of the state was like, his name was Jose Rodriguez. Like, I'll never forget, because I was like, you could be related to my mom. And my mom's last name was Rodriguez. And so I'm like, but this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, just kind of, I've read so many documents. I've been in court with them so many times. So now I'm fighting with him about why my parents, like, this doesn't even deserve to go to court. This is just illegal. And off of that merit alone, like, we shouldn't be in court. And he was like, are you going to go to law school? And I was like, no. I'm not going to law school. And this is why. I was like, this is why. I was like, the reason why my parents have lost everything is because we cannot afford to pay somebody to interpret the law that I'm doing at 16 years old. I'm in this office arguing with you, a grown-ass adult, about things that you wrote, policies you put in place, or people before you, and you want me to go to law school to spend a whole bunch of money. I'm going to be a broke attorney. I'm going to be broke defending people. Hello?
For free.
For free.
Right.
I'm going to listen to your case and I'm going to be like, you're damn right we're going to court. You're damn right I'm taking this on and I'm going to be broke. And that's what I was doing at the time, like fighting with them. And then I have to, come back to them and translate everything that I just did and said with this person. And then I would go and speak to their attorney and be like, this is what I think we should do. This is what they said. And at that age, I was already like trying to come with ways, but it was life or death, Right. That's what it felt like. Right. And I was already trying to solve it with them. It was a all hands on deck thing, like, especially Junior. Like Junior and it was all hands on deck all those years. I never had to go defend Junior in court. He always figured it out.
Right.
But
shout out to my man. Love you, my boy.
He always figured it out. But my parents, to the end, to the bank closing the doors, like to the very end, reading mortgage clauses and just in the fine print. There's so much in the fine print. I'll never forget at a presentation when I heard, it was probably Noah who said this, but he was like, do you know how to keep information from people?
Keep a secret from people.
You know how to keep a secret from somebody?
Write it in a book.
You put it in a book. And so like, I can't tell you how many things are in fine print. Like if you just read it, it's there. And because we're not going to read it, and historically our people have not been able to read, we won't. And it's right there. And so that's why I didn't become an attorney. And that's where I started to learn to have to like fight and defend and figure this out. And
so good. Not to lose our step where I was. So what I meant by year 1, year 2.
Oh, this business.
The business, right? Like
yeah.
Revenue.
That's where
like,
year 1.
Yeah, come on. So like revenue, like because
I don't remember our revenue year 1 now that I think about it. And then we decided to part ways, right? So we decided to part ways. I was like, there's something here. I'm going to keep it going. And so then I decided to continue the business by myself. So now I am doing this by myself. And year 2, year 3, year 4, or like the last 3 years of my business, let me say, in revenue generated like $1 million each year. Like the third year before the last was like 700 something, 900 something. And then I haven't finished the numbers for last year yet, but like also I could feel that it was very profitable. And it was incredible. Like it was so stressful. It was really, 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 really stressful.
So
I will never do that again.
So that's my point now, right? No. Because in the truck, revenue doesn't necessarily mean that's what you take home, of course, right? Because it is a business that's deemed to be high in expenses.
Yes.
Correct?
Very.
So when do you decide to say, okay, because Jen's not a quitter. Jen is not a quitter. Okay, I'm here now. I proved it. You proved it. Yeah. I'm going to be real with you. I'm on the sideline like, yo, you got it. Because once I knew what it was going to take, from the second you started that business, I was like, well, this is where Rob becomes the friend and says, I don't know this business. If this is something you want to take on, by all means. When does Jen have that conversation with herself to say, okay, well, this is what it's making. Yep. This is what I'm going to be losing because you didn't have these properties in real estate.
Yep.
So talk to me about how do you make this decision?
I didn't even think about how much money I was going to be losing. Let me just say that. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. It's because the stress was, it was stressful, but you know what started to happen? It wasn't bringing me joy. It just did not spark joy whatsoever. Everyone, the people that I was working with are like, you're really good at this, or like, you're really figuring this out, or like, wow, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, no, I hate this thing. I hate it. the industry is not for me. It's male dominated, and it's not that it's male dominated. It's that it's disrespectful.
It's cutthroat. It's nasty.
It's cutthroat. It's nasty. It's disrespectful. It has no organization whatsoever. And so for the first 2 years, I was like, okay, I'm going to think of things that are going to revolutionize this industry, right? Like, that is where I think I can really come in and make a difference. And I was so in the weeds of running the business that I couldn't do that. And so the pivotal things that happened, number one is it was taking time. Listen, my daughter, her and I would be, look, the day that I sold the last truck, Layla was in her car seat for like 4 or 5 hours. We were in my car for like maybe more than that, maybe 5 or 6 hours, to be honest. And in the car, like meeting buyers. There's only so much a 2-year-old can take. And, there was plenty of examples like that way before that I was like, yeah, no, I can't keep doing this. One, it doesn't bring me joy. And then two, look at the impact it's having on my daughter. Like, this is not, I lived in a restaurant. My mom will tell you stories. They used to flatten the cardboard boxes and I would sleep behind the bar. My parents were working. They had a party. Tenían a Fernandito Villalona. Somebody was coming to our restaurant. And I would be behind the bar, sleeping on the floor because I can't sleep downstairs in the office. What if I get into trouble? Which I was guaranteed to do. Right. So I lived that. And I was like, yeah, no, I worked too hard already in my life to get to a point so that when I had a child, those were not the choices and the sacrifices that I was going to have to be making. And so that was happening with Layla. And then the other thing strategically is I made a decision in 2024. I have a property in Elizabeth, and the city of Elizabeth is doing like a revitalization project. And so they decided that they wanted to buy all the houses on that block, or that they were going to condemn them. And so stuff was happening. And I didn't have enough time you have to go to the public hearings. You have to be at those meetings. And I didn't have enough time to go and be there and decide like what I'm going to do. And the way that I make decisions is like I immerse myself in the information. And so I couldn't be at the hearings to listen to what was going on, what was happening, so that I can make an informed decision about what to do that's the first,
that's your baby.
That's my baby. And I couldn't be there to Layla's my baby, but that's my first project. And I couldn't be there to listen to what the heck was going on. And at some point I made a decision, okay, I'm going to sell this. And now do I sell to the city? Do I sell to a buyer, right? Like, what am I going to do? And I didn't have the time. I'm sitting on X amount of equity. I could flip it. I could buy 2-3 more homes right now. And I don't have the time to do what brings me joy, is going to make me great money. I am not going to be stressed like this. And I didn't have the time. And I said, something's got to go. And this is the switch. This is the switch that has to happen. And so once I was in a place financially where I felt like I'm good. So why am I continuing to do something that doesn't bring me joy? I was like, again, those 3 things put together, I'm like, you got to go trucking. I can't. I couldn't do it anymore.
This is
good riddance. I wish I could kick that thing in the butt. I learned so much though. The things that I figured out, every 30, 60, 90 days, I was shifting the way that I ran my business to be able to continue being profitable and, helping people and whatever. March of last year, I had maybe 4 trucks. I had 6 owner operators. I have a good system going. I have a dispatcher. I have all these things happening. A dispatcher who used to drive for me that I helped become a dispatcher for me. And so I have a good system going. Insurance renewal comes up. Do you know how much they wanted?
No, I don't.
It was $150,000 policy for the year for all of those trucks. And the deposit was going to be $50,000. And I was like, okay, I got to figure it out. I got to figure this out. I got to figure out how I'm going to do this. And so I was in the middle of an audit, a trucking audit at that.
How did you figure that $150,000 problem out?
So it's $150,000 for the year.
For the year, for
right?
sure. So you don't
but
have to
the
pay up front.
deposit
What's
is
50?
crazy.
So what did you do?
I mean, one, I spoke to the owner operators and I was like, you guys have to decide. Do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? This is what we have to do. I shopped around different policies. Again, I started reading what is going to give you, like what can lower your prices and what you can do. The audit that I just had, because I passed and was successful at the audit, I was like, let me use this to be able to lower these rates. Listen, man, it was a lot of going back and forth. And the thing is that you cannot lapse. If you lapse your insurance,
Game over.
It's over.
Game over. Nasty.
First of all, you can't even get insurance. And then that's it. All of your contracts stop immediately. Immediately. It's like people have like an alert system straight to their they get alerted immediately and stop working with you. Nobody. Like days before people know about this.
Nasty.
And so I had to, the people who were going to do this, I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I fronted a lot of the money and then the carriers paid me as we went along and started working. But I was already working with owner operators that had already showed me that I could invest in them. And don't get me wrong, there was at least 2 or 3 people throughout trucking that it did invest in. You know, it didn't go well. They still owe me money. They know who they are. And it's wash and fold. It's what happens as a part of the business.
It comes with the territory, right?
It
You got to
does.
charge it to the game. So, Jen, would you consider yourself to be someone who's prepared or is well prepared before an opportunity presents itself, or when an opportunity presents itself?
And go ahead and win an opportunity for that.
You're one that's going to do the due diligence of doing all the homework before you make a decision.
No.
You're not.
No.
Okay. So the preparation comes in the midst of you being
Yeah.
into something.
No, somebody will present. I mean, look, when somebody presented network marketing, on the spot. Trucking, I was like, on the spot, let's do it. Once I get into something, or when I make the decision if this is what I'm going to do or not going to do, I'm very methodical and logistic about the questions that I'm asking myself.
Okay.
But then that's where now I'm here. Now we got to make it happen. You know, like now I'm here. Now we got to make it happen. And that's where I get like really into it. I will read bylaws, policies and procedures, you know, like just whatever it is. Listen, I was in a sorority in college. I don't know. I thought that people like skimmed through stuff like that. And no, you had to read the fine print. We had to read and write bylaws. I'm like, what is going on? And so those things prepared me so that when I make decisions, when I'm looking at this stuff, for the most part, if it makes sense, I'm like, I'm in. And then I kind of go from there.
And if you're wondering why, because I see you digging, like, what does this question mean? So when it comes to having your lovely daughter.
Let me take a sip. Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to when it comes
No, I was methodical about that too, to be honest.
Okay. So I want to talk about this process here because being a parent isn't easy. I'm not one, right? How this came about was a very, very unique situation.
Yeah.
Incredible unique situation. What's going on, my brother? So talk to me about the decision of saying, I'm going to be a mother.
So, I mean, first of all, I was in love. You know what I mean? Like, let's
Movie. It was a fucking movie. It was a
movie.
movie I was watching. Like, is this really even happening?
I was in love, and we had been talking about it for a while. But the biggest push, honestly, came from my family. My family was like, my mom especially. And my mom has always been like very reserved and cautious and stuff. And she was like, I was 31, right? 32. So she's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? She thought I was going to end up joining like becoming a nun eventually. Because she's like, why don't you have kids yet? Like, I was on 2 already at this time. So it really came from there. And my mom has never really steered me wrong. So I started doubting myself because I'm like, why am I doubting this so much? Why am I? You know what I mean? Like, I'm in love. I'm in this relationship. This person wants, you know, also to have children. And so I'm like, okay, fine. Like I financially I'm good, and it's like, biological clocks are real to a certain extent, and so I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And there was just something, it felt like it was the right decision for my life, to be honest. That's what it felt like.
So then when the baby's here, what are you going through? When she's finally here, what does Jen feel in the midst of running these businesses? Is intact right now.
Yeah.
Property, how many properties did you have?
No, at that time, one, two, three, maybe like 4 or 5. So 4 or 5 at the time, plus the trucking company with all those trucks. My job, I still had my job this entire time. And then I give birth and have a baby.
Yeah, you give.
And give birth and have a baby.
So here's why I'm asking, because I'm obviously a male, right? So I believe, right? I hope so, right? And these are things that I think I would just say, if I'm listening to this episode for the first time and don't know Jen, and I'm a man that's going, what? Because today's world is she a high class woman, a high value man? Does she have all these businesses? Does she know? Yada yada. You went from wherever you was in the scale to like, yo, shorty makes money, she doesn't need me, she's independent, etc. And now she has a kid.
Yeah.
Postpartum is something that I feel a lot of us men, right, we don't experience that, or we don't understand, or a lot of women don't speak out about. Mm-hmm. And with the pressures of running all these businesses that you just spoke about, to then have a baby, what is Jen going through?
Hell. It was out of this world. As a therapist, it was the first time that I was like, this is why people end up doing the things that they do. This is like I had a lot of trauma in my life, but the hormonal and chemical imbalance that I was feeling, oh my God, I don't wish that. If there was a way to weaponize that, we would we would win every war. We would have won every war ever known to mankind, because it is like it's the by far the hardest thing I've ever been through. And there was no such thing as balance. I was breastfeeding, pumping. I had just given birth. I wasn't back at work yet, but in the midst of all this stuff happening, so I'm still, running this stuff. And when you talk about these businesses, this isn't like, oh, somebody else is making these decisions or making these moves, right? Like even, my partner at the time was maybe going out and doing some of these things, but we were together with the baby going to Baltimore and doing these things. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. I felt like I enjoyed that part of it. Like I was like, this is what I thought I was always going to be doing, right? Like I was going to be in the field with my kid and my partner, and we're doing these things and like, being entrepreneurs and making money. And so that part of it, esa ilusión, right? That illusion, that was happening. And I was super proud and happy about that. But the emotions behind it, like the week after or 2 weeks after I gave birth, I literally sent a message to my family group chat. And I was like, I hate you all. You're all a bunch of liars. You knew that this was going to happen. There are so many things happening to me right now that all of you that have had children know about. And you didn't think, hey, heads up, this is about to happen. By the way,
when you give birth, this is what you're going to go through.
Yeah, like heads up, you might get whatever. I don't know how graphic you want me to be here, but like
you could be. Let's get there.
Things that like I'm like, first of all, hemorrhoids. I remember texting Crystal, and I was like, "What is happening right now? What is this? Why is this happening to me?" And excuse me.
Shout out to the ladies with the hemorrhoids. We appreciate y'all.
Listen, people make it seem like pregnancy and the birth is the hardest part. And that was not the hardest part to me. Literally, everything that came after was such a roller coaster of things. And then with my relationship changing, the emotions that I was on an island by myself. And I was just, my cousin's wife just recently gave birth. And I said to her, it felt like my daughter was sent here at the time to kill me. And I was fighting with life Like, I'm trying to keep you alive. And the thing that I'm trying to keep alive was also sent here to kill me. And the thoughts that you feel, the things that go through your head, it was absolutely insane. I had never thought about, no, I had never realistically thought about suicide in that way. I had never thought about, like, Layla would scream sometimes after breastfeeding. I'm on no sleep, pumping, like doing all this. And when people talk about no sleep, I'm talking about like 20-minute nap, and then you got to get up and do the whole process all over again. And then the thing is that, like, you're biologically connected to this human. So it's like, she would be like, and I'd be like, so there's no REM sleep. You know what I mean? Like, there's no deep sleep. And if you've ever known me, like, I used to sleep.
This is a sleeper.
Sleep right. is my like secret weapon.
Bro. Where
10 to 12 hours in college, I feel like after, I would go on like a run of whatever I was doing, but sleep was like my common denominator. Like, that is how I found the energy to do everything that I was doing. And now homegirl took my sleep. And so she would be hungry sometimes after I fed her, after my body produced this liquid to give to this child. And she would still, I didn't know she was still hungry. And women are like, oh, you know, it's just innate. I was like, I'm broken. I'm broken then. I am the broken doll that doesn't get what's happening right now because I'm not connected. I don't know what my kid needs right now. This isn't making sense. My mom was like, she's still hungry. And I'm like, there's no way she could still be hungry. Like, I just fed her X amount of whatever. But my mom's like, no, it's breast milk. Like, she needs more. You got to start giving her formula. So now I'm fighting about that. Oh my God, it was a mess. And I'm alone. You know, it's not like my mom, nobody ever slept over my house and was like, let me help you take care of this baby.
For context, right? Because we're going through the story. When you say alone, this means the partner you was with is not there. He's not present.
Oh, he was present.
Oh, he was present.
He was present. He was present. And I think he was just also trying to maybe figure it out as well. I mean, but it was like, oh, okay. So what, like, he agreed that he would wake up at night, right? And then the baby just wakes you up. And so I'm like, wake up, like, wake up.
So like, nah.
He would be like, y'all don't know what we're going to do, but I can't do this. This isn't happening. And so then, like, I had to do it, right? Like, who's going to do it? So I just have to do it. And then it was like, okay, like, I'll take the morning shift. And the morning shift is like, okay, like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to be with the baby. But every 15 minutes is like, do you think she's hungry? Hey, where are the bottles? Hey, you need to change her. You know, and it's like, like, what am I sleeping for then? Like, that's not happening. When I went back to work, I finally started to feel like a human being again. In the sense that, like, I was away from the baby now for like 7-8 hours. And that is when I started to miss her. And then when I started to miss her, then I started to fall in love with my kid. And a lot of stuff happened. I left my partner. I literally grabbed the clothes that we had and I left. And I was sleeping on an air mattress in my mom's living room. And I couldn't put the baby on the air mattress. Layla must have been like 4 months at the time. And I couldn't put the baby on the air mattress because if you've ever slept on an air mattress, it bounces. And so if I rolled over, she was going to just hop right off the bed.
Poor Layla.
And so I would put her on the couch next to me and I would have the air mattress next to the couch and she would sleep on the couch with like all these fluffy blankets and stuff. And that's how I managed. And I would drive to the Bronx. I would bring Layla to that apartment to drop her off so that our babysitter could take care of her. I would go to work. Then I'd come back, I'd pick her up, and I'd drive back into Jersey. And I was doing that every single day.
By the way, which is an hour.
In the middle of traffic with my with my baby in the back. And that's what I did for a long time. Then at some point, I was like, going to Elizabeth is so long. It's killing me. Layla's still waking up in the middle of the night. So my sister lives in the Bronx. And then we would sleep at my sister's house. just so I could be in the Bronx so that I can drop her there. And this is what I did. I don't even know for how long then. But then the come up story from there is great.
Right. So then before we get to the come up story, how are we not bitter? How is Yenia still going to work, be present in a place where your attention, the demand of what you need, and you have to still be efficient, because the hardest thing to do is not to mix your personal life, business life. And respectfully, let's just call it what it is. If you're an emotional being, right?
Yeah.
How does Yenia not become the person that says, fuck everybody for real?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't really have an answer to how I didn't become that, because I was mad.
I believe you. And the only reason I ask that is because I feel that there's people that are going through less and they carry it so heavy everywhere they go. As soon as they walk into a place, the lights come off, right? Because they're so dark. But I need something. What did Jen do because listen, I've been through some dark shit, right?
Yeah.
And I think about all this stuff. I think God put me in a position, right, where being a mentor to many, well, then you have to start taking the advice you would give to somebody else. Ooh. It was like, ooh, I told that girl not to quit. Oh, I told him he better do whatever he got to do. I told him that it's light at the end of the tunnel, and I got to look in the mirror.
You and I went to that.
Mm-hmm. Where it's like, nah. I mean, if I think about I borrow people's stories, right? I love the books that we read, and knowing that Will Smith was 100,000, Kevin Hart $450,000 in debt. Will Smith did make money after Black. All these stories saved me.
Exactly.
But in that prime time to have a 4-month-old baby to still, like you was doing a lot.
Yeah, but doing that is because I'm disciplined. Discipline is what got me through that.
There we go.
Discipline is what got me up at night, got me like, just discipline is what gave me the ability to be able to do that for as long as I did. Not turning cold and bitter, I made a decision that I wasn't going back. And so like, I'm here now. This is my life. What are you going to do with it? You're going to waste it? You're going to be like, and I was so sad for so long. I was so sad. I cannot tell you screaming in agony and pain. I couldn't talk without crying. I couldn't I was going through so much, even pregnant at my job. The war that I was at my job. The war that I was at that job, at my previous job. Like, the way that I was being attacked, I was pregnant. I'm like, I don't understand how the world is eating me alive right now. Why would God do this to me at such a vulnerable time in my life? And I had never, ever, ever gone through so much at the same time. I lost my dad. I got pregnant. I waited years to have a baby, to decide to have a child with somebody, despite, good relationships. I waited years to have a child with somebody, and it doesn't go the way that I thought that it was going to go. I left my job of 13 years. I left friendships of years. You know what I mean? I was so alone on an island. Like,
can we add the fact that they sued you?
Oh, and I was being sued. Oh my God, I was being sued for the first time. There's nothing like the first time you're going to be sued. I can't believe you remember that. Yeah, I was being sued. Of course I remember.
I was like, you getting what?
Oh my God, I was being sued. And I was like, I don't understand. I'm like, this is what is meant to take me out. And I would think about my life insurance policy. I would think about transferring things to my mom's name. I'm like, no, my sister already has all these kids. She can take care of Layla. Like, and these are the things that are going on in my head, because I'm like, this is going to take me out. How do I? And honestly, it's really, some of it is a vacuum. Like, some of it is just putting one foot in front of the other, like just trying to get through the day. But eventually, because I made a decision that I wasn't going back, I was like, it's time to get it together. Like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to move forward. And sleep, time, reconnecting with my, like, just being with my family and around them and praying. I had to pray to let go of, I was holding a lot of resentment towards people who had left me when I was pregnant. You know, like I had a lot of resentment for like people not coming to stay with me or bring me food or like, you know, and it's because I've always been the girl who had it together. We looked, you know, amazing, and nobody came to really, not that nobody came, but like they'd come for an hour, 2 hours or whatever, and then go home. And inside I was like,
Stay.
Please don't go. Please. I just need you a little longer. And I was holding on to a lot of resentment, and I let it go. And I was like,
La ventana.
listen, I am going to, either this is going to kill me or I'm going to rise above it. And again, like I said, putting one foot in front of the other, praying, listening to music, journaling. I went back to therapy. And I put one foot in front of the other. And eventually, you know, my kid, like, eventually she became like, you remember when I told you I thought I was going to have a son?
Yeah.
And God makes no mistakes. And I had to go through that, Rob. I had to go through that. I had to be burned. I had to suffer. I had to go through Mount Everest times 10 so that I could become the mother that my daughter needs. The world that we live in today, I am who she needs. I am the woman today that my family and my children need in order to be able to protect them and to do the things that I need to do to go to war and to fight for them and to be able to show them how to make this, like how to live through this world. And I mean, listen, my mom went through, my dad left her. That was worse, I think, at that time. You know, like I have an education, I have a job, I have all these things. And I had to channel kind of like that strength, you know? And that woman got it together. And, you know, till this day, she fights things. And I'm like, how are you not bald? You know, like how?
Right.
My mom has MS right now. And yes, just recently diagnosed. And I'm sitting there with her and I'm in my feelings. And she's like, okay, so what do we do? What happens next? And I'm like, I can't be this strong. But you would not know the level of your strength without the tests that come with it. And that's what it builds. You know, it's building us up for worse and harder. And listen, when I tried to get back in shape after having a baby, and, you know, I danced my whole life. I danced competitively for 15 years.
I cooked in a battle. I'm going to let you know right now, in the dance battle, I cooked Yenia. It was
Rob.
the guy.
Rob.
I got a document.
Rob, I know this is your podcast, Rob.
I'm just saying, I cooked. We cooked. It was the guys versus the girls. Did a little. I'm sorry. Do your thing.
No, you talk about that night.
Yeah, cooked you. We cooked you.
Come on.
They had all the dances over
there was only two of us that were dancers.
That don't know.
There was only two of us that were dancers. There was only two.
Go, put them in the book. We don't lose here. Check.
We should put a clip of that in right here.
We should put that in.
First of all, only two of us were dancers. And
got a couple on there.
You guys won. You did. You guys were super animated. It was entertaining, and that's why you won.
Yeah, we did.
But anyway, we digress. Danced and getting back in shape after having a baby. It clicked. I'm like, yo, life only gets harder. I hate to break it to you. Like, life only gets harder. Things get harder. You lose people that you have loved for longer. You know what I mean? Like, it just, life, nothing about it to me right now gets easier. You get better. You get mentally stronger. And without these moments and finding and processing and like evaluating and closing that chapter and recognizing the new skills that you have now, how would you prepare for the next battle? It's going to happen. So do we want to be naive or do we want to level up? Because you can't be both. You can't. And so I'm cooking. I don't know about everybody else.
That exactly what you're doing.
The person that I am today, don't mess with me. Don't. You don't want it. You don't want it. I'm better than I've ever been. Like, having a kid, they done messed around and empowered the wrong person.
Let me tell you something right now. It's moments like this. I hope that y'all see. Like, I hope y'all can see it. I guess the way I'm looking at you when you're talking, right? I met this girl 10 years. I have friendships for over 10 years with multiple people.
Yeah.
Like, that's the blessing I have. I think God has given me, where it's like, I think I go through hard stuff. And then I just go down the line, memory lane, and say, yo, but Jen did, and E did. And I just be like, yo, for real, God is good, God is real, right? And I feel like when I've met y'all, I just feel like I was gonna be part of this movie, whether I was gonna be in it in the mud or I was gonna watch. For some reason, from the day I met you, I was like, I don't know, something about this girl's different.
And I've always told you have an amazing memory.
Yeah.
Like, you always remember when I met you, what you were wearing, and like all these little details. And it's because here, things come full circle. And I tell this to a lot of social workers. I train a lot of like interns and stuff like that. And I tell people, how could you talk to people about their experience? When you go through things that people have gone through, it gives you a new level of perspective. Being able to talk about postpartum now gives me the ability to help women make it to the other side, right? Depression, it allows me to help people, like, walk them to the other side. But you got to make it through. If you don't make it through, you cannot bring anybody else with you. And like, I don't want those things for you. Trauma, right? Like, without those challenges, how would we have the confidence and the knowledge to be able to teach the people who are coming behind us, like, how to get through it? And so, like I tell you all the time, you have gifts that only our Creator could have bestowed upon you. Like, from the jump, you've had these things. And if you let the challenge, like, take those colors away and make you black and white, right? The devil wins. And we don't lose, baby. We don't lose. We're not gonna let the devil win. We're not gonna lose our color. And it took a while. We don't know how long it's gonna take. Right. But it gets better. Always. It gets so much better. Always. Life today.
It's lit. I ain't gonna lie. Life
today.
Life is lit. Life is lit.
Oh my God, I'm so grateful.
I'll say this too, Jen. Thank you for those words, first and foremost, because there's this line where you gotta be okay with opening up to certain people. Okay? Always been emotionally like, I remember going through my hardest times. So let me just put it out there. Let me say what it is. 2017, remarkable year. When I found out that we weren't getting paid no more, right? Because that's huge for us. That was the thing that we lived. You were the first person on my list to say, all right, not only is she gonna understand, but the therapist in her is gonna listen to me with ears that the other person who's bought into being delusional is not gonna pay attention to. Like, yo, Jen, I'm gonna tell you something right now. It's real. Give me a second, sit down. And your silence, it's like I knew you was ready to hear the information. Granted, I didn't think you were gonna believe it all, right? Because it was so shocking.
Yeah.
But to be able to get it off with you first prepared me to then have the conversation with everybody else. You're the friend that sometimes I don't want to call, right? Like, when things are tough, because I'm gonna hear, okay, so what you gonna do about it? And it's like, all right, that's not what I want to hear right now, right? Like, where's your therapist? I'm like, yo, Jen, but here's the thing I'm gonna say to our community or our people. Found a therapist, right? Took my first session. Naren, if you need a therapist, get your therapist. I got my therapist, and I haven't booked the second one because maybe he's not my fit. So the first time I had a therapist was because of you. I was going through something. You're the first person I called. I said I need a therapist. You recommended somebody. She was incredible. This time around, I was looking more for a male, and here's why. Because I realized my father never had those words that I've given to other men. You know what I'm saying? I should almost call it a moment right now. So I realized that I had to figure, thank God, like, I had to figure a lot, because I learned something with the intention to then teach it.
Yep.
Right? Like, I go through something and be like, oh, so when somebody goes through it, I'm going to give you what it really is, right? And I just caught the knack of that early. But I sit and reflect and say, I don't have conversation like this with men that often. I'm the one usually giving it. So I'm searching out for another male therapist. And maybe it was a fit as a fit. But I asked you because when you say you got a therapist again, in the midst of you going through all this, who's talking to Jen, all right? Besides the therapist that you go seek. Like, when you're saying things like your life insurance and all these years of these practices you've put into yourself and this moment is this dark, how do you debunk that? Like, what's the actual process? Because I don't know if somebody's listening to this right now and they're in that moment. They watch. God put them in front of this episode because they're in that moment.
You know what happens? Shame. You are so embarrassed that you could even be thinking this. And how do you tell your sister, your mom, like I could not get the words out. And at some point I started to confide in Crystal a little bit, and I would share, like glimpses of like, I don't know, Crystal, this feels like more than what people describe. You know what I mean? And like, she would offer words of encouragement and stuff like that, and ways to be supportive. But she had a 1-year-old at the time and couldn't really do a lot herself. She's in the thick of it herself.
Right.
And I wasn't listening to podcasts. I wasn't listening to books at the time, but I was listening to sermons. And so I was listening to sermons, and that's always kind of been my go-to during those dark moments. And even listening to sermons, Rob, I was like, this is garbage.
Talk about it. That's
I was
real,
like,
though.
this is garbage.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You have no idea. No idea. The level of anger and resentment that I felt is crazy. And I don't have any, like, other than time, like nothing else. It just eventually got me out of that, And you know what started to happen? Worse things started to happen to me in that situation. Worse things. Do you remember when I called you and paid for that Uber?
Oh, I remember. How do I not?
Excuse me. Called Rob. We don't have to say the whole story.
We don't gotta give the details. Let me tell y'all, real friends are real friends, B.
Real friends are real friends.
Real friends are real friends.
Rob would have taken a bullet for me that
100%.
night. Put him in a dangerous situation.
I said, what you need me to do? You need me to get in the Uber.
Rob was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I said,
that?
I'm positive.
I am hopping in an Uber.
And again, there is, when a woman's had enough, she's had enough.
Right.
And it was like, worse things started happening to me. And the angrier I got, the tougher that I got. It's part of who I am. The angrier that I got, the tougher that I got. And I was like, yeah, no. And what I will say about working with somebody, right, is I just needed to get it out. I needed to say it because it was all in my head. And getting it out and saying it was like at least getting it out of my body, right? I was going to tell you 2 things while you were talking. Number 1, women are 4 or 5 times more likely to get autoimmune diseases. And it's because we keep all of this tension in our body. We keep all this stress in our body. We take on the tension and the stress of like what everybody around us is going through. And we don't get to share it and, get it out. And so like exercising, massages, just whatever is going to release all that pressure and that tension is super, super, super important. And then you want to talk about full circle moments. You just said that we weren't getting paid. And remember how I was like, and it's a short-term sacrifice. They're going to fix this. We weren't getting paid. Short-term sacrifice, they're going to fix this.
I was so tight how it responds, bro.
He thought I was bananas. Like a screw came loose, something happened. Hit my head. I drank way too much Kool-Aid.
100%. In the Kool-Aid heavy.
Out of the many executive orders that have just been announced, what was one of the things that Trump just said?
Yeah, he cut the budget.
He cut the federal, he stopped. He sent an executive order to stop immediately all federal funding to nonprofits.
That ain't even processed.
And so now I'm in a leadership position where I need to figure this out. I need to help my leadership figure this out for my organization. But I've been here before, right? And so one, I need to prepare myself for what that could mean, what happens, what do we do? But when I tell you life works sometimes in full circle, had I not been through that before, would I be prepared right now? Or would I be emotionally I have a child to feed. But I was like, okay, step one, emotions to the side. What am I thinking? What do I need to do to protect and prepare myself for what's about to happen? And then two, now how do I protect this company? What am I going to do for these people? I have staff, I have people, I have clients. Like, what am I going to do for this community now so that people do not get impacted in this way? But I could not think about those things had we not been through this before. I've seen what happens when you stop paying people. I've seen people stop being able to pay their cars, stop being able to pay their mortgages, not be able to feed themselves, not be able
Check.
to. I've seen what happens when this happens. And so you gotta trust God and trust the process. Full circle.
Wow. Yenia, is there anything else you have to say? I'm done. I don't got nothing else for you. You're incredible.
Hashtag wine in a mason jar.
Hashtag wine in a mason jar. Look, as we come to Atlanta, here's what I want to say. Thank you for being a person I could count on that's going to get to the other side. Regardless, like you give me glimpse, like I had an idea of what you were going through, but not in the details that you shared today. And even though I got in that Uber, so I knew it was dark.
Yeah.
But I had the understanding that this is a battle she's gonna overcome. If you need something, I'm here. Always be here. Thank you for being the light that you always are. Thank you for blessing. Anticipated to have this episode for so long, and I think the timing was absolutely right.
It definitely was.
Any last words you need for us before we go?
I'll say this. People question faith all the time, And I think it's natural and organic for that to happen. And I tend to be around people when they're in their darkest moments and seasons. And the light that I carry and that I have is because of where I get my energy from. You cannot get it, whether you want to argue if God or this higher power is real or not, which one works better for my life? Believing. Faith works better. It works better. It restores energy in my body. It will, just clear a path in my head. When you can let problems go, whether you want to call it the universe, God, however you want to refer to your higher power, if you don't have one, you need to start finding it, and you need to get connected. And you need to practice those principles. Because I promise you, it is not that all of a sudden I met somebody that has solved all these problems for me. My higher power, God has given me, again, continue to funnel through me the energy, the resources, and the tools to be able to, again, complete my mission on this earth. And so that's really what I want to leave for people, because it's not me. I wish I could take credit for it. I will take credit for the fact that in this body, I make it happen. You know what I mean? And I that's the light that I want to continue to give people. And that my daughter is the best thing to ever happen to me, ever. I love that little girl so much. And the woman that I am today, I had to go through those things to become this person, to be that kid's mother. She is just like me, Rob.
Layla, you owe me a hug. You owe me a hug, Yenia.
She is like me and she is like her dad. She's not going to hug you.
Facts. She owes me one.
She don't know you. She don't like you. Her mom wasn't like that.
Ladies hashtag wine in a mason jar.
Wine in a mason jar.
Ladies and gentlemen, another edition in the Living Room podcast where we learn, laugh, and heal. Thank you.
Hashtag heal.
You could throw that mic away. Yeah, no, you body that completely hug.
Like
that was amazing.
good?
That was, ve acá.
For real?
Come on now.